Imagine arriving at a Serie A football match by boat, not because it's a special occasion, but because there simply isn't a road to the stadium. For Venezia FC, that has been normal for more than a century. Their home sits on a tiny island in the Venetian lagoon, surrounded by water and squeezed into one of the most beautiful and restrictive locations in football. Now, that is finally changing. Just a few kilometers away on the mainland, an entirely new stadium is rising beside a motorway and Venice's airport, with every seat covered and a 360-degree gallery circling the ground. But this isn't simply a new stadium, it's the result of decades of failed plans, financial disasters, and repeated attempts to solve a problem that once seemed impossible to fix. And there's an even bigger twist. This project nearly collapsed before construction could properly begin. Somehow, after years of false starts, Venezia finally found a way off the island. So how did they pull it off? And what exactly are they building to replace one of the most unique stadiums in world football? Tucked away on a tiny island in the Venetian lagoon, Stadio Pierluigi Penzo is unlike almost any football stadium in the world. Reached primarily by foot or boat, it has been Venezia FC's home since 1913, making it the second oldest stadium still in use in Italian football. In 1970, disaster struck. A tornado ripped through the stadium, destroying much of its stands and reducing its capacity from more than 25,000 to barely 5,000 almost overnight. The club spent decades trying to recover, but the real crisis was still ahead. Between 2005 and 2015, Venezia went bankrupt 3 separate times in just 10 years. Each collapse forced the club to rebuild from scratch, dropping down to Serie D, Italian football's 4th tier, essentially amateur football, and starting over under a new identity more than once. It's the kind of story that would end most football clubs for good. In 2015, American investors led by lawyer Joe Tacopina bought Venezia out of that third bankruptcy and gave the club a fresh identity, including a new club logo featuring the winged lion of St. Mark and a rebuilt stand named the Valeria Solesin stand, after a young Venetian who tragically lost her life in the 2015 Paris terror attacks. What followed was one of Italian football's great modern comebacks. Venezia climbed back through Italian football's divisions in under a decade, capped by an unforgettable 2021 playoff final against Cittadella, where they held on with only 10 men, before scoring a stunning 93rd-minute winner to book their return to Serie A after 19 long years away. But even that fairy tale ending couldn't hide the stadium's biggest problem. Penzo's official capacity today sits at 12,048, and it briefly dropped below 7,400 during renovation work between 2015 and 2017. During the entire 2024 to 2025 Serie A season, Venezia's biggest crowd of the year, a sellout against Inter Milan, was still only 12,048 fans, while their average home crowd sat at just 10,150. That same season, the average Serie A club drew 30,842 fans every match day. Venezia was filling barely a third of what a typical top-flight rival packs in weekly. The location makes the problem almost impossible to fix. There's no direct road connection, just foot access and boats through Sant'Elena's narrow streets. 3 sides of the stadium are still open to the weather, and there's no land left on the island to build outward into. You can repaint a stand or replace a seat, but you cannot conjure space that doesn't exist. None of this is new. Reports trace talk of moving Venezia off the island back to the years following World War II, resurfacing again around the 1990 World Cup, though nothing survived the club's financial troubles. The closest attempt came in 2018 when Tacopina unveiled a €185 million proposal for a 25,000-seat stadium in Tessera, with reports suggesting the design could incorporate traditional Murano glass to reflect the city's identity. Despite the ambition and private funding, the project never broke ground. The real breakthrough came after Venezia's 2021 return to Serie A, when the municipality of Venice took charge under Mayor Luigi Brugnaro. In March 2022, the city unveiled its own concept for Tessera, and in March 2024, a construction consortium won the tender, with the design handled by Populous and Maffei's Engineering. The location was finally locked in, on the mainland, less than 2 kilometers from Marco Polo Airport, beside the A57 highway, giving Venezia direct road access and enough space to build from the ground up. After decades of false starts, Venezia finally has a stadium plan that's actually being built. So what exactly does that €92 million new home look like, and how close is it to becoming reality? Venezia's new stadium isn't just a bigger building, it's a completely different sporting philosophy, built by the same architects behind Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and the new Wembley. Probuilds has designed a ground that holds 18,500 fans on day one, already more than Penzo's best crowd all of last season, with room to grow to 25,000 for concerts and major events. This time, Venezia isn't just building a stadium, they're building a stage. Picture a stadium that feels less like a massive concrete bowl and more like a pavilion built into its surroundings. Its smooth, curved design blends naturally with the landscape, while three sides of steep seating wrap tightly around the pitch, putting fans right on top of the action and creating a much more intense atmosphere. But the most unusual feature sits around the outside, a 360-degree covered gallery that circles the entire stadium, giving every supporter a sheltered walkway and open views across the lagoon, not just the VIPs. And this is where the new stadium leaves Penzo behind. Every seat will be covered, meaning no more exposed stands or fans trying to shelter from the rain. But the ambition goes far beyond comfort. The stadium is being designed to meet UEFA Category 4 standards, opening the door to major European and international matches. Add a club museum, giant screens, modern lighting, restaurants and social spaces, and this is no longer just a place to watch Venezia play, it's designed to stay alive long after the final whistle. Even the exterior tells its own story. Rather than standing out, the stadium is designed to disappear into its surroundings, wrapped inside a landscape planted with over 80,000 trees and shrubs across more than 70 hectares of green space, turning the whole district into something closer to a park than a stadium car park. For Venezia, it's a complete reversal from the cramped island setting of Penzo, keeping the beauty the club is known for, but finally gaining the space, greenery and room to grow that the lagoon could never offer. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. This stadium nearly collapsed before a single foundation was poured. In 2023, the European Commission ruled that the project could not receive the EU recovery funding it had been counting on. The same ruling that hit Fiorentina's new stadium in Florence on the very same day. It wasn't a small technicality, it blew a genuine hole in the financing, serious enough that Venice's mayor publicly warned the entire project could be scrapped. It took the Italian government stepping in and replacing the lost EU money with national funding to keep it alive. What looked like a stadium destined to stay on the drawing board forever is now a real construction site rising out of the ground in Tessera. After a century of storms, bankruptcies and false starts, Venezia FC is finally closer than ever to walking away from the island that shaped their entire identity. And the financial story behind it is even wilder than most fans realise. The full stadium build costs €92.3 million, but the wider Bosco dello Sport project, including the stadium, a new arena and the surrounding sports district, has actually pulled in backing from some seriously unexpected names. As part of a broader €100 million fundraising push to strengthen the club, Venezia's ownership group has drawn investment interest tied to names like sports executive Tim Liveker and even musician Drake, a sign of just how far this small lagoon club's ambitions have travelled beyond Italian football. Venezia itself is contributing roughly €33 million specifically to customise the venue to its own standards, with the rest funded through Italian state recovery money and the city of Venice. Here's what makes the deal so important. Under a 40-year operating concession, Venezia will control the stadium's naming rights, premium seating, and revenue from events, giving the club far more control than it had at Penzo. But there's a catch. The city will take a share of the profits if the stadium earns more than expected. The deal even assumes Venezia will spend 60% of future seasons in Serie A and 40% in Serie B, meaning the city is effectively betting on the club's long-term future too. Construction itself is no longer theoretical. Ground was broken in Tessera in October 2025, and by early 2026, crews were already deep into foundation work. The target opening is summer 2027, and getting fans there is already being planned for. Venezia has confirmed it's working with the city's ACTV transport network to guarantee bus connections from central Venice and the island straight to Tessera, so supporters without cars won't be left behind by the move to the mainland. But the goodbyes aren't happening just yet. Venezia will play one final season at Penzo before making the move, meaning fans get one last chance to sail in, walk through Sant'Elena's narrow streets, and watch a match inside the second oldest stadium in Italian football before it stops being the club's home for the first time in over 110 years. And the timing could not be more dramatic. While all of this gets built, Venezia currently sit top of Serie B, fighting for an immediate return to Serie A after being relegated last season. If they get promoted, they'll walk straight into their brand new 18,500-seat UEFA Category 4 stadium, not as a club scraping by in the second tier, but as a genuine Serie A side. A team that survived 3 bankruptcies and a collapse to Italy's 4th division could end up opening their new home in the exact division this entire project was built for. Of course, nothing about this journey has gone smoothly. The 2018 plan collapsed. The EU pulled its funding in 2023. Every version of this stadium has had to fight just to survive. So the real question was never whether Venezia wants to leave Penzo. They clearly do. It's whether Tessera can finally deliver what nearly 80 years of broken promises never could. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Venezia's stadium journey, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories like this one.